When we speak of ISB and its impact on students, the one word that stands out is transformation. We welcome bright young minds to the school, see them graduate with flying colors, and go on to accomplish some incredible things. He began his career with PVR at a time when the multiplex revolution was just taking root in India. Over the decades, he has grown with the company, shaping its strategy, building its distribution arm, and playing a defining role in transforming how Indian audiences experience cinema. Today, he oversees content acquisition, partnerships, and distribution for PVR, bringing some of the most diverse films to Indian screens, from global blockbusters to regional gems. A leader deeply invested in the future of cinema, he also serves as the president of the Multiplex Association of India, championing the industry through times of disruption, including the pandemic, and driving its recovery with a focus on innovation and audience engagement. Join me for a conversation that explores the journey of Kamal Gianchandani from the PGP MAX class of 2013, the CEO of PVR INOX Pictures. Morning, Kamal.
Morning, Guru.
Welcome to this edition of Impact Chronicles. It's a very special one. The reason I say it's special is because we are in this really magical setting at PVR, a company that you lead. You've been in this industry pretty much throughout your professional...
30 years.
30 years. That's a very long time.
Full lifetime.
Lifetime. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this industry. Was it something that you always thought of? Was it accidental? Would love to hear.
Firstly, Guru, thanks for coming. And very happy that you made the effort to come all the way to Mumbai. So in my case, in 95, when I finished my MBA from Pune, I'm a Delhi guy, so I'd done my graduation schooling in Delhi. And then I went to Pune to do my MBA. When I finished that, I returned to Delhi and, started looking out for jobs. Ended up picking up a job with a finance company called LKP Merchant Finance. They were into buying and selling of foreign exchange. And at that point, foreign exchange used to be quite restrictive. I was very young, I was hardly 24, very impulsive. And you're looking for excitement, right? When you finish off college, you're looking for some action. And this was a very, staid, structured sort of a job. And I figured this is not going to work for me. And at that point, through some consultants, I was offered an opportunity with PVR. And PVR then had only one single screen in Delhi, a theatre called Priya Cinema, which used to play Hollywood films. And I'd been there as a college student, as a school student.
Sure.
So I was familiar with what they were doing. And fortunately, just going back to when I finished my MBA, I traveled to Singapore for my first overseas holiday.
Okay.
We are from a middle class background, but I had a friend in Singapore and he suggested, why don't you come over? And there he took me to this, amongst many other things, he took me to this place which was then like a standalone multiplex. When this offer for PVR came, that experience was very fresh in my mind. I saw an opportunity to get out of finance job which I was doing and get on to something which, at least from perception point of view, looked very exciting. Movies, and I thought, I'll be learning something, we'll get to watch some films.
Yeah.
And PVR was planning, they had already planned and they were about to execute the first multiplex in the country.
Okay.
But I was able to sort of use that experience to see an opportunity. I went and I spoke to my father. And my father had never traveled overseas and he had stopped going to cinemas. And he was a little surprised that, why would you want to go and work for a dying industry? Like, people were shutting theaters then in 95. My father was like, why would you want to go and work for a theater company. No one does that, right? I mean, we see ushers who are not educated.
Yeah.
Like, who
There's
would go
very
and work?
little limited jobs that we can think of.
Correct. But like any Indian father, he was willing to indulge me, and he sort of said, "Okay, why don't you give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. Worst case, if you don't like the job, maybe you'll look for another job.
Yeah.
You have age on your side." But from that date till now, I've spent 30 years. This is all I've done all my life. Film and entertainment. I also did bit of digital business. We launched like a streaming platform way back in 2006 when I was in Reliance. But by and large, this is what I've done: exhibition, distribution, production, film and entertainment has been my professional life. And I enjoyed so much that I can't think of now changing track. It's also too late because I'm like 54. So this is how I got into business.
This is fascinating, but tell us what you were doing for the other 5 years when you were not at PVR.
2 years with Z, they
Yeah.
started this initiative called Fun Cinemas.
Yeah.
Very similar to multiplexes, but at a much bigger scale. Spent about 1.5, 2 years there. And then 3.5 years with Reliance Entertainment, the Mr. Anil Ambani group. Got my first taste of digital business, where we launched this streaming platform called Big Flix.
Yeah.
We did what used to be known as mail order rental service. So we started that in India. But because India piracy is so rampant, the model sort of succeeded initially, but then once it lost its novelty, it didn't work out that well. But it was a wonderful experience. Resources were at a different level. This group had been created after the separation between the Ambani brothers, and the resources and the ambition was just another level. So I sort of became a man from a boy in those 3.5 years.
Lovely.
So wonderful memories.
In terms of both your growth and, I mean, because it's kind of intertwined, you said it's very hard to separate it at this point of time. How do you see this going forward in the, let's say, next 10 years?
I don't know if I want to work beyond 60, like I'm 54. So maybe 4 or 5 years of professional career is the way I picture today.
Yeah.
And, these things keep evolving and changing. But in terms of business, I think business has wonderful opportunities in India. It's underpenetrated. Going to theaters, watching a film is part of our fabric. We've all grown up doing that. And the wonderful thing about India is that we have so many local industries. And people think of streaming as a competition to theaters. But in reality, there is a positive cycle between the two. You can monetize in theaters, then you can monetize on streaming, then you can take it to television, the linear television. All of this is more revenue for the producer.
Yeah.
And that more revenue means that when they make their next film, it's bigger, it's better in terms of what they are paid to talent, production values. Their ambition keeps getting better with each film. And that augurs well for theater, because when those films come back to theaters, that's what audience wants to watch, right? Bigger and better films.
Kamal, I want to ask about, in your professional journey, at what point did you feel the need for, management education again, in your case, because you already have an MBA? And what were the factors you considered while choosing or shortlisting ISB?
PVR has always had this growth mindset as part of the culture.
Sure.
Again, emanating from the promoters. There was also a lot of focus on learning and development. There was a focus on exposure. Most people who came and worked for us in PVR were not exposed to multiplexes, because there were no multiplexes. There were very few multiplexes in India. So we sent a lot of people to mature entertainment markets like Australia, Singapore, US, so that we could get exposed to the best practices. So I guess this whole culture of constantly learning, being curious, trying to learn from other people, best practice, all of those things played on my mind. And that sort of encouraged me to, I'd been working for almost 14, 15 years and boredom was seeping in and we were doing monotonous stuff. Like we were growing, but of course we had been doing it for 15 years. So that's when I got interested in coming back to college, getting into my t-shirt, Bermudas, and going back into that
As a
college
student,
mode
yeah.
as a student. And I knew a few people, and I was looking for something which was, which gave me the flexibility of studying and working at the same time. And we were looking at some program in Singapore, and then I got to know ISB as a similar program. I think some ad or that's how I learned. And then I spoke to somebody who had done the same program. Then one thing led to another, and I was in PGP MAX at the Hyderabad campus, enjoying myself, and it turned out to be a fantastic experience.
If you were to think of yourself as someone who, having gained this experience and knowledge through PGP
Yeah.
Max at ISB, how do you think, what do you think are some of the shifts in your own sort of professional outlook post a PGP Max?
So because I'd worked only in one industry and largely in one company, my style of management was set in many ways, right? I mean, I would do what was par for the course in entertainment business or what was par for the course in PVR ecosystem. But when I went to ISP, I was surrounded by people from very different backgrounds,
Yeah.
which I was not exposed to. So it was interesting because a lot of learning took place there, but it was also humbling in many ways because when you do something for 15 years, you get a false sense of confidence that you know everything, right? But there, suddenly, when you get into a room for a group discussion or an assignment and you have this one problem or a case study, and they would look at the problem, analyze, dissect it from a very different lens as compared to mine. And they would come out with logical, arguments or solutions, which when I would sort of listen to them, I would think, why didn't I think of it?
Got it.
So just by observing other people, I learned a lot of things. And I think in terms of leadership, what I understood basis my conversation with a lot of colleagues was that you needed to delegate more. You had to be more inclusive in terms of aligning people rather than, sort of directing people, having a
Just
top-down
have this
approach.
one route or one
Because you
approach.
know the answer and you are in a hurry to get to a solution. You just tell people do this, but that in long run is not good because the buy-in is not there. People are not aligned.
Yeah.
And they may not have the same understanding that you have, right? And they may have a better solution which you're not giving an opportunity for that to come on the table. It didn't change me overnight.
Of
Like,
course.
I won't say I was transformed as a professional, but just by observing people from different backgrounds, getting benefit of their experiences, their management practices, I sort of ended up imbibing a lot of things, which when I used at my workplace, I could see some positive outcome, positive results. And then it just became part and parcel of my day-to-day life.
Lovely. And in terms of, for someone who's aspiring to be in your shoes right now and is, let's say, mid-career, is thinking of, let's say, should I do an executive MBA? What would your advice be to someone with that kind of, let's say, 15 years of work experience?
I would say go for it. Like learning and development should be an ongoing part of your professional career. And you need to find these pauses to sort of stop, reflect, analyze, and then figure out if there are changes you want to, tweaks you want to bring about in your management style, in what you practice at work. So I think it's important. It's also important to break the monotony, because there's so much of monotony when you're in business. Like you're doing exciting stuff. There are new challenges in different shapes and form, but at a high level, you're doing similar stuff. And I think it's important to break that monotony because you need to sort of revitalize, you need to sort of recharge your batteries. And when you take these breaks, you come back with a lot of energy, you come back with a lot of new thoughts. And that is good for your business. That's also good for you as a
Yeah,
professional. So people should
benefit.
go for it. So not just go to college, but just stay curious
Yeah.
as much as possible.
And in terms of, if there are any, moments or learning moments or otherwise experiences while you were on campus, I know you actually took a break and followed it up with the next cohort. Is there anything at all that stands out for you that you'd like to share in terms of any classroom moment or?
Like I mentioned, the group discussion, assignments, that's when I had maximum learning. That whole atmosphere was extremely relaxed. These were most of in fact, all of them came with experience. So they were serious professionals, right? People who had done it for 10, 15 years. And they were there to learn, right? They were not there to just enjoy. So I thought those memories have stayed with me even now. Like, although I had that shift in between, like I had to move from one group to another. But my loyalties are still with the first group, the people I went into PGP MAX with. And therefore, we have this chat and we've stayed in touch and we meet once in a while, not too often, but once in a while. But on the chat, you keep hearing what's happening with each one of them. But the maximum learning excitement happened in those group discussions. And I remember Mr. Kale, our strategy
Prashant
professor,
Kale.
Prashant Kale.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. Like, he was outstanding. Like, some of his negotiation skills, like there were practices which we had, there were things which you were doing even pre-ISB in negotiation. I'm just using negotiation as an example. But post his classes, I was able to put a structured framework to it. Like, I was able to, put my finger and say, this is what we were doing with more clarity.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing of BATNA.
Yeah.
All these terms suddenly became meaningful because I was able to relate them with what we were doing in our real life. So his classes were wonderful. Like, I used to really enjoy his classes.
Yeah. One question as an alumnus of ISB, what is your expectation of a business school like ISB in the changing business environment as a business leader who's looking to hire talent continuously from top institutions?
I think from media entertainment industry perspective, some of these prestigious institutions, ISB, of course, is right at the top, IMS, and many other don't have relevant sort of course material for something which is applicable to media and entertainment business. Like, this business is a cross between creativity and business and commerce.
Yeah.
But business schools are too focused on commerce and business. This whole appreciation for the creative drivers of a business, I think business schools are currently not sort of factoring in. So maybe that's something, how do you respect both these forces in media entertainment? How do you sort of marry them? How do you respect creative, drive of the filmmakers, but at the same time, how do you balance it with discipline, business acumen, and those sort of things? Is something where I think institutions could do some more research and sort of incorporate more material, which will make it much more relevant for media entertainment business. And I think people going into institutions like ISP and wanting to get into media entertainment business should come with this perspective that in this business, you just don't need passion, but you also need a lot of patience. Uh, Creative forces drive this business, but we have so many hits and misses. We've seen so many creative people failing. so many things going wrong. But that's the nature of this beast. Because it's all about innovation, all about trying to gauge what the audience would want to consume a year and a half later, because that's the lead time to make a film. Very often people go wrong. So you need to have high degree of resilience.
If I were to walk up to any of your team members and ask them to say, what is the one leadership attribute in you that they really admire the most, what do you think it will be?
I would like to believe most people would say that he is very relaxed.
Okay.
He lets you be, like he's very informal, and he would apply no pressure. Like, I prefer to be called by first name. I feel much more connected and much more younger when people call me by first name. And I think as a signal, people find that to be a very informal sort of behavior with the team. And like I mentioned, I've become more inclusive. Like, I'm not in a hurry to push my point across. Even if I have the solution, I'm more interested in aligning people, ensuring that they all come together,
It all
so
comes,
that
yeah.
we all move in the same direction. So I think that's a big change in me, and I think people notice that.
More consultative, more
Yes,
like.
yes.
I have a few rapid fire
Yeah.
questions. What's the first movie you ever watched in a cinema hall?
Sholay.
Sholay.
Yeah.
A film you wish more people had watched on the big screen?
A recent example is Nishanchi
Okay.
by Anurag Kashyap.
And something from, let's say, an earlier time? Do you have any?
I think films like Dil Chahta Hai, although it's perceived as a cult classic, but in terms of box office, it wasn't that successful.
A lesser known fact about you?
Lesser known fact would be that like, I ran that digital business for about 2.5 years, invested a lot of money. We lost money in that business, is a lesser known fact. I learned a lot from it. In fact, the kind of professional I am today, I owe that sort of the phase that I'm going through. A lot of it has been contributed by that phase which I had in Reliance. But it's a lesser known fact. Not many people know that I dabbled in digital business.
What would 25-year-old Kamal be most surprised about seeing you now, where you are?
I'm very calm now, and I used to be extremely restless when I was young. So I think the 25-year-old me would be quite shocked at looking at my demeanor now.
A filmmaker or an artist you'd like to have a long dinner conversation with?
Fortunately, we get a lot of opportunities to spend time with the filmmakers because we work so closely with them. But I'm a big fan of Mr. Amir Khan. I worked closely with him on multiple films. And in fact, even Sitare Zameen Par, we were his distributor. I worked with him in 3 Idiots, Tare Zameen Par, Jaane Tu Jaane Na. So I'm a big fan. His approach to life, filmmaking, I just want to keep listening to his point of views and stories.
Lovely. If I were to ask you to capture this, to you, what cinema is in one word, what does cinema stands for you?
Escapism.
Escapism.
Yeah.
And does that reflect in audience choices in India in terms of movies?
Absolutely. The reason they come out and watch these masala films where, everything is black and white, and there is a villain who's evil and there is a hero who's, doing everything right, is because audiences want escapism. And that's the main reason why, at least Indians, but it's also true for Americans, it's also true for developed entertainment economies. People are looking at escapism, looking for escapism. They want to suspend their day-to-day life for a couple of hours. They want to sort of travel to another world.
Yeah.
And that's what cinema is all about.
Magical world.
Magical world. Absolutely.
Lovely, Kamal. I mean, this is such a fascinating story. We are very proud to have you as an alum of ISB.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing this story with us. And it's been a lovely conversation. We can go on and on, but thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Guru.
Thank you.